I had been looking forward to the American Livebearer Association convention since it was announced earlier this year. On my drive down to Florida from Michigan, I picked up Chattanooga Ed in Tennessee, and we made our way down to Coral Springs, Florida for 4 days of fish fun and aquarium hijinks. So on the first day of the convention, I had the opportunity to tour some of the local fish farms and stores in South Florida. The first one that we hit was Jack Watley's Discus. While this was the smallest facility that we toured that day, it definitely had some interesting highlights. This was set up like a typical fish store with racks of tanks. When you entered the store, you were greeted by this awesome planted tank that was home to a large school of rummy-nosed tetras, as well as many other schooling species. This was definitely a tank to aspire to. As you walk through the racks of tanks, I did find these fish to be quite interesting as well. I do believe that they are some sort of Rasbora species, but let me know in the comments what you think these are. And obviously, since we're at Jack Watley's, we can't avoid talking about the Discus, which were definitely a highlight of our visit. So let's take a moment and walk through some of these wonderful tanks of Discus. Next we hit the neighborhood fish farm, which I found to be one of the most unique fish stores that I've ever seen. Like most of the fish farms in Florida, they utilized the concrete coffin liners with a central filtration system. Since this was primarily outside, this store definitely had a farmer's market vibe to it. And shopping for your fish from a top-down view was definitely a different experience. You can find a wide variety of species, from livebearers to African cichlids and everything in between. While looking through some of the ponds, you definitely can find some pretty interesting fish pairings as well. You can see a pond that had livebearers, African cichlids, and koi or goldfish all living in the same tank. So let's check out some of the cool fish found here at the neighborhood fish farm. So after lunch, we headed over to Redland Fish Farm. This facility was smaller, but had a fairly similar design to the neighborhood fish farm. They did have a pretty nice variety of African cichlids, livebearers, and some other South American fish as well. But one group of fish that really did stand out to me was this small toad of guppies. I thought these fish were real showstoppers. So let's check out some of the other show-stopping fish here at Redland. So we entered our day at the Summerlin Fish Farm. This farm used larger concrete ponds and had quite a large selection of fish. The owner of this farm was second generation and had quite a bit of history. The owner's father had created a couple of strains of mollies back in the day and had built quite an impressive setup of rare livebearers. Unfortunately, for the last 12 years or so, the farm was leased out and a lot of the livebearers had been lost. The owner of the farm had gotten back into the farm last year and had started building up the population of livebearers again, along with the African cichlids that were already inhabiting the farm. This was the farm that had the enormous mollies that were the highlight of the entire trip. These mollies were about 5 to 6 inches long and were absolutely massive in terms of body size. These were entered into the show and won their class. There was definitely some really great fish here at Summerland, so let's go ahead and let the fish do the talking. So our second day in Florida was the day of the collecting trip. We broke out our nets and headed to various collecting sites throughout South Florida. This was one of the aspects of the trip that I was most looking forward to, since I've never been collecting before. In South Florida, there's a wide variety of native species as well as invasive species, so you'll never know what you'll catch with any pull of the net. So at the various collecting sites, we did collect some mollies, gambusia, some Heterandria formosa, Mayan cichlids, as well as red jewel cichlids. I did take home a few mollies, a small group of jewel cichlids, as well as some other gambusia and Heterandria formosa. We also did come across another Florida aquatic creature as well. This guy was just checking out what was going on and kept his distance. I had never seen an alligator in the wild before, but this was definitely a thrill, but of course at a distance. So let's take a look now at some of the fish I collected and see how they're settling into the fish tank barn. Friday wouldn't be complete without talking about the Aquarium Co-op event and the Goodied auction. Both were going at the same time and were a lot of fun. At the Aquarium Co-op event, pizza was provided and games were played, and everyone had a great time playing the games, interacting with Corey, Dean, Zenzo, and Jimmy, as well as the other attendees at the event. So definitely want to thank Zenzo, Corey, and the Aquarium Co-op team for putting together such a great event. I did have to sneak away though for the Goodied auction, which had many great Livebearers and Goodieds, in which all the benefits went to the Goodied working group, which works on the education and conservation of Goodieds. There are quite a few rare species, and I managed to pick up a couple for my own to take home. So Saturday was the main expo and speakers. I would say the expo had about 30-ish vendors or so, and you could find a wide variety of fish from vendors both nationally and from the South Florida area. So this is also where you would find the speakers. I didn't attend all the speakers, but I did attend a few of them and found them quite interesting. I did sit in Carl Trochu's talk, which really reinforced what high-quality breeders go through to create and maintain their new lines of fish. The banquet talk was also excellent, with Dr. Craig Watson speaking about fish reproduction. What really got me with this talk was that a lot of the marine breeding speakers that I've seen in the past have worked for Dr. Watson at the Florida Aquaculture Lab. So the banquet was definitely something that I enjoyed. So going along with this day was also the fish show. While my Limia didn't place, let's walk through some of the other interesting fish that were here at the fish show. So let's hit Sunday and the auction. I did bring 16 bags of fish down for the auction, which proved to be a challenge since they were in the bags for about a week. So I did have to do some rebagging, but all in all, having the fish and bringing them down to the auction was well worth it. It took a while to get the auction going, but once it really got going, it turned out to be a great event. So let's take a look at some of the beautiful fish that you wouldn't find elsewhere. So I really enjoyed my trip down to Miami for the ALA. I learned a lot, especially when it comes to the fish size of Livebearers. I definitely have some work to do on that front if I wanted to show fish again. But I definitely got to experience quite a few things with the fish farm tours, as well as going collecting for the first time, which was definitely a thrill. And to top it off, definitely came back with some cool fish as well. So I'm looking forward to next year's ALA as well, and the Triple Crown event will be top of the list for next year's fish travel plans. So that being said, stay safe, stay fishy. We'll catch you on the next video.